Welcome back. Let's create a modular button for our project. This way we have reusable UI element. Let's create widget folder for our UI. Creating UI may not be the most fun thing for most people, but it has to be done. The more modular your UI is, the more consistent it will look. In the widgets folder, create a folder for our modular widgets. While we do that, I will add a screenshot of ChatGPT's response to the question, what are the benefits of modular UI? Pause if you want to read it. In the modular folder, create a user widget. Name it WB_button and open it. This is the widget designer. It's quite similar to web page builders if you're familiar with them. Here, add an overlay to our button widget hierarchy. In the overlay, we will place our UI elements. Now add the button element, as that is what we are here for. To see how our modular button will look, we will create one more user widget to observe our changes in action. No need to name it as we will delete it after. Now add an overlay and search for our button. Make sure to compile and save if it's not findable. Here is our button. Yeah, it's nothing special, but let's go back and start customizing it to our needs. Our button will definitely need to have text, so add it to the button. Now, since I'm not good at materials, we will just use general styling for the button. Go to the button style and select the background color and opacity. Here, set the color to black and the alpha to something like 0.5. We want our button to not always have text block as the button text. So let's make the text block a variable named button text. Go to the widget graph where we can add blueprint logic to our widget. Here you see our button and button text as variables that we can utilize. Grab the button text and drag it to the event graph and select Get option to add it. Drag from the button text and search for Set Text. Then, drag from the set pin to the event pre-construct pin to create an event chain. Event pre-construct is the event that runs before the widget is created, and it also runs in the editor. So we will see the changes we make to our button in the editor. Drag from the text input and select Promote to Variable. Name it button text with a space, as we can't have matching names for our variables. Select the closed eye icon to make it instance editable, and also check Expose on Spawn to True. In our widget, to see the modular button in action, select the button and type button text. Like you see modular button, now named test. Good start. Now, to add more customization, we need to check how those are named in the designer. But first, let's wrap our button with a size box so we can change the modular button size. Make size box into a variable. Go to the graph and add our size box to the event graph. Drag from the size box and add Set Height Override and Set Width Override. Connect those node pins to event pre-construct. Drag from the width override input and promote it to a variable. Do the same for the height. Set default values after compiling. Make both values instance editable to expose in editor setting. Now changing those values sets our button size. We can categorize our variables. For the widget elements, create widget variables category. For our instance, editable variables, name the category button settings. Now you can see our customization for the button in the Button Settings tab in the Button Details. Just to show our modular button in action, let's add one more button to our graph. We're using the same modular widget, but we can create different buttons from it for each instance. Now let's add customization for the text font. Go to the button graph. We can just drag from the button text variable and add a set font node. Make font info to access the settings for the font. Here, we can create the font settings we need into a variable that we can use for our modular button. If you don't see any fonts, select the cogwheel and set Show Engine Content. Promote the font family to a variable. We definitely need the ability to set the text size for our button. Don't forget to make them instance editable. Let's also add ability to set color and opacity for our button text. Add default value for text font and text color. Now, our button will always be just text. Sometimes we will want an image as our button. So let's add this feature to our modular button. First, create a Boolean variable named has image. Drag it to the graph and make getter. Here, I intuitively just press B to create a branch from our has image getter. Wrap our button text with an overlay, as we can't add more elements to the button, but we can add them to the overlay. Now search for the image and add it to our overlay above the button text. Drag image to our graph. Drag from the image and search for the Set Visibility node. Set the visibility value to collapsed, which means it will be hidden, but will also save resources as it's not actively drawn on the screen. Connect Set Visibility Pin to false. Now let's add some images that we will use for our buttons. I will provide the assets used for the project in the description, or you can use your own. Create folder for our UI textures and drag images to texture folder from provided assets zip file. For texture optimization, you can set the texture group to UI and the compression settings to User Interface 2D. Drag from image and search for set brush. Drag from brush and make the slate brush. Here we have image settings we can utilize. We can add image size to our button settings. And as you would expect, we need to promote the actual image to a variable so that we can set it for our button. Go back to the button designer and set the horizontal alignment for our image to fill. Do the same for the vertical alignment and for overlay. Also, we would like to have the ability to set the alignment for our button text. So let's go back to our modular button and modify it. Text alignments are part of the overlay slot, so we're going to need to get the slot and then set the alignments. Drag from button text and get slot as overlay slot. From overlay, slot get set nodes for horizontal and vertical alignments. Promote both enums to a variables. Hello from the future. I had to add the onpressed event to our modular button, as I forgot to do it in the initial recording and just noticed later that we have no onpressed event. To make it work, create event dispatcher named onpressed. Drag it to event graph and call it. This will add editor event that we can add to our modular button like we did here. Now do the same for the onHovered event as we will need it to create an event when the mouse is hovering over the button. This is it for now for our modular button. We will use it whenever we need a button, and we will need it soon for our login screen. See you in the next one.